what I've learned, and I've talked to some people, that you have to be ready. And that's what someone told me. They said, it was my attorney, Sumitra. She said, you got to be ready to just walk in, because if you're not ready, you fall flat on your face. And I was ready. I was ready to go to the next level.
Tell me where you're from, and tell me a little bit about your childhood.
Well, my name is Evita Tezeno. I am from Port Arthur, Texas, and if you don't know where that is, it's south of Houston. I went to Lincoln High School, and growing up in Port Arthur, it's a small town. So when I was there, I think it was about 70,000 people at the time, and it was separated by culture. So the black people lived on the west side, and the prominent white people lived on the east side. And I went to an all black high school. I went to an all black elementary school, and I remember when the elementary school closed down, I had to go to a integrated junior high school, and that was kind of a culture shock because I had never been around mixed race people. I mean, everything. I went to a black church, so it was very interesting uh, going to school with Hispanics and Asian people and white people, and all. Um, that culture was very, very different at the time.
What?
Yeah.
So see, now let's go off course. And I'm like, what was that like? I mean, like, do you have any specific memories about what it was like to go from like an all black elementary and now you're in middle school? It's all mixed. Were there any kind of I guess unique or very specific things that were different?
Really, nothing was really different. I think that going into going to one parochial school to another, it was a Christian, it was Catholic school, and so I think that the kids were not mean. I don't remember being teased. I remember really having friends that was of another ethnicity. So I think that we all got along. I didn't feel uh, anything different than going from a black school to that. I was just surrounded by people of different ethnicities. That's the only thing that was different.
And this is all in Fort Arthur?
This was all in Port Arthur.
When did you move to Dallas?
I moved to Dallas in 1987. So that was after I got married, and I sought opportunity because I did not want to be stuck in a small town for the rest of my life. So I wanted to seek uh, a better opportunity.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And so, okay, so I'm gonna back up and go back to childhood and
Okay.
ask, you're an artist.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Lord.
What? When did you know? When did you know that art was your thing?
I came out of the womb. I really believe it. I never cannot remember not having a crayon or some type of pencil in my hand ever since I was a little kid. When my memories, uh, I even remember back when I was 3 years old, because when I was 3 years old, President Kennedy died, so I'm dating myself. I remember that like it was yesterday because I remember my grandmother crying. So I remember sitting on the floor while my grandmother was crying, and asking her what was wrong. I remember drawing on the floor when they announced President Kennedy has passed. So I was 3 years old, and they say kids don't remember, but I do remember. But all my childhood, I had either a crayon, a paintbrush, or something in my hand. And I told my family that I wanted to be an artist. And I said, I want to travel all over the world, and I want my work to be in museums and galleries, and I want people to look at them. Ever since I was a child. And I didn't want to do nothing. They said, yo, you're not going to make any money. You need to do something. You need to be a nurse or something. And I told him, I said, I don't like blood. And I said, I don't like people throwing up. That's nasty. So they allowed me to major in art in college, but I did not have any mentors to mentor me. So right after college, I got married, and we went and we were house parents at a we moved from Beaumont, Texas, or Port Arthur, because that's where I was. We moved from Port Arthur to Beaumont, and then we moved from Beaumont to Dallas because I had a cousin here, and I said, I don't know what to do. So we became he worked and I just did odd jobs. Because while we were in Beaumont, we worked at a children's home. And then when we moved to Dallas, I just did odd jobs. I was a secretary, I did administration work, I was a receptionist. I did everything just to make my ends meet. And then soon after that, I think we were here for about maybe 6 years, and then we got a divorce. And then I still did odd jobs. But that's when I met Frank Frazier during my divorce. And Frank Frazier is a local artist here in town, and he had years of experience, and he was on the road. And he asked me, he said, "Do you want to go on the road with me?" And I said, "Sure." I said, "I could sell my artwork?" He said, "Yeah, you can." And that was an adventure on itself because he's a little eccentric, to say the least. But that's when I met Jennifer and all these other artists and people that was just trying to hustle to to do what they desired, their dream. And I traveled with Frank for 5 years, and I met so many people. And I got picked up by a gallery when he took me to Philadelphia, and for a long time I stayed with that gallery for almost 20 years. So it was a great time. I mean, it was not the best of times because sometimes I remember I used to go to a show and not sell anything. So it had its highs and lows. But I met people that I still till this day I still communicate with them. And that was over 30 years ago.
And what was your style at that time? Like your style, because I know you've had multiple stylists.
Yes, yes.
So like, what's that journey? I guess this is the first question. The journey of the styles.
Oh, wow.
Take seasonal.
Yeah, so when I first started out, I started painting. I painted impressionism. So I painted black people in kind of on the Monet style. I painted little girls with flowing dresses, ballerinas, all of those things. So uh somebody came to me on one of my shows and said, I asked them, I said, what could I do to get to uh I guess, the status that I want as an artist. Well, they said, "Your work is derivative." And they said, nothing special about your work. So they said, "It's good, but it's nothing special." They said, "Everybody paints this way." And so I thought about it and I started to pray. I said, "Lord," I said, I want to be this famous artist. And I feel like I'm stuck. And in 1998, or 97, I think it was, I had this dream that an angel came to my door and said he was a messenger from God. And he said, "I have this book of sketches. And if you change your style and do these sketches, you would be successful." And it scared me because it was totally different. It was like kind of cubist, really kind of different. And I remember sitting down and just thinking, and I started to try to translate this dream into sketches. So I started to just kind of draw and do sample work, and I started to show it to my peers. And they said, "Wow, this is different." Uh, I said, "Well, I think that I'm gonna totally change my style and I'm gonna do this type of work." And they said, "Well, try it. See what you can do." So I did some completed pieces, and then Frank Frazier called me one day and said, "Hey, this guy in New Orleans he's looking for people to do a poster." And he didn't tell me what festival it was or anything. He just said, "They're doing a poster for this festival, this jazz festival, and he wants you to submit some work." So I took pictures of my work that I had this new style and I submitted it and my work got chosen for the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Congo Square poster, and I was the first female. Yes, and they flew me to New Orleans, and I thought that was I said, "Oh, I made it! I made it!" I said I was so excited, and then right after that festival ended, Essence commissioned me to do a poster for their festival. So I did two major jazz festival posters in 1999. When I came back home to Dallas, Dallas got wind of it. I was on the cover of Arts and Entertainment page in 1999. I moved to a studio. My studio sold out. My show sold out. My first show that I hosted back in, I think it was in 2000, year 2000. It sold out. I was so excited. And then the stock market crashed. It was the 2001.
Oh yeah, because of the Y2K situation when everybody thought the world was gonna end. I forgot about that.
It went crazy and I couldn't sell any work. I had to get a job, because I think for about maybe 2 years I was doing my work. I was a full-time artist. And then I couldn't sell any artwork. I tried to go back on the road with Frank. That was a little difficult. People weren't buying artwork. So I got kicked out of my studio and I had to move into a small apartment and the hustle started to be really begin. I cooked, I always cooked well. So I began to chefing. So I chefed for 15 years while I did my artwork. I went from going to a small apartment, going to a house, and working in a garage. And then finally, I got a studio in a culture center. And I stayed there for almost 3 years, almost 2.5 years, and I was still chefing. And I got picked up by a gallery in New York. I'm not going to mention her name, but I got picked up by a gallery in New York, and I did a couple of solo shows with her, and she showed my work to Denzel Washington. And he bought 8 pieces. And it was a bunch of money and all at once. I was so excited. And I quit my job. I quit my chef job. And I never worked again. I've been doing full-time work since 2019. That was, I guess that was the climax of beginning the upward trending of my career was when I quit my job and I got in a little small studio and I began to do work full time and I began to get recognized.
Okay, so Denzel Washington bought art in what year?
2019.
That was 2019.
Mm-hmm.
And then you had a few other.
That was in 2018.
2018.
Yeah, so I waited a little bit and then I quit my job in January 2019.
Yeah, like right after that is when I met you.
That's right.
Right after that.
Mm-hmm.
So that was February 2019 is when I met you.
Yes.
So Denzel Washington buys the art, and then there were other celebrities that bought art too, right?
Yeah, that was later on.
That
That came after.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So 2019, us two happens.
Mm-hmm.
We are like, we come together sometimes and that kind of thing. But the other thing that's happening is y'all are like glowing up. Like glowing up. What was the journey from 2019?
Well, I have a really good friend. I've been knowing her since she was 8 years old, and she's like my baby. And she told me, she said, Evita, you need to get on Instagram. And I fought it. I said, I don't know. I don't like that. I don't want my work on that platform. And she said, Evita, she kept encouraging me. Why are you not on Instagram? Because I think Instagram came about maybe 2015, 2016. And I was hesitant. So in 2018, I made my first post. And I started posting. 2020, I get an email from a gallery in Los Angeles. And they said, we love your work. We want to considering having 4 pieces or maybe 6 pieces in our gallery. They said, give me a call. I got so excited. And it's funny that that happened because a couple of months before that, I sat down with my attorney and I told her, I said, I need you to be my life coach too. I said, I need to sit down and kind of chart out the next 2 years for myself because I said, I want to be bigger than life. And she said, okay, let's do it. We charted it out. We wrote down 3 months, 6 months, a year, 2 years on where I wanted to be. Then I got this email. Yep. I got this email from a gallery in LA, and I was so excited. They said, oh, we saw your work. And they said, can you do bigger pieces? Because I was doing small. I think the biggest piece I did was 30 by 40. And it said, can you do bigger? And can you do works on canvas? I had never worked on canvas before. So I said, this is a challenge and I'm going to meet it. So they asked me for 4 to 6, and I did about 12. I was so excited. I was staying up late at night and I was sending them pictures and texting them. Then they sent me an email and it said, we see all of this work and you doing it. We're going to give you a solo show. I said, wait a minute. Y'all giving me a solo show and y'all haven't seen my work in person? And they said, yeah. He said, what we see over the pictures, we are just confident that we're going to do well. I said, okay. So I did 14 pieces to complete the whole show, and I did pieces on paper and canvas. Then they called me. The work left, and they said that we rented a gallery that's next to our gallery because they wanted to do a solo show for me. And then when the work arrived, they were really excited. They were still painting the gallery, and they said, Evita, we want to let you know that your show is sold out. I said, well, it's not even hung yet. They said, but it's sold out already. So, and this was during COVID, at the beginning of COVID. And my show showed out in 2021. I know. So I didn't get a chance to go to the opening. They didn't hold an official opening, but they did a closing. And it was almost surreal because I saw all my work all in one place in a gallery in LA. And it was about 40 people that came during COVID to my closing. And then we sat down and they said, well, we want to take you to art fairs. I've always wanted to be in art fairs. They brought me to my first art fair was in Florida at Art Basel. And I remember a couple of years ago, I showed at Prism, which is an extension of Art Basel. It's like one of the satellites. And I showed 2 pieces, and I didn't sell anything, but I started to get a buzz. And they took me to NADA which is New Art Dealers Association, our alliance, I think it is. It's NADA. And they we had an opening on the first day, which was Thursday, and the show sold out in an hour and a half. And I was there, so I saw it, and I saw the people swarm in. There was reserves on, they had like 5 reserves on one piece, 5 reserves on the other piece. People were saying that they wanted it, and before I know it, all of them were sold. And I didn't have time to cry because I was whisked away by my financial planner, and they threw a lunch on a yacht for me, which was amazing. I felt like I was a celebrity because it was just amazing. It was like I was dreaming.
But just recognize that you are a celebrity now, right? You do so that. Like, I think that's the other thing too about like what has happened in the short amount of time. Like, but you are like you're you've sold art to celebrities. You've sold out Art Basel. You so like you.
Yeah.
That's who you are.
Yeah. And what was so funny, we have to back up a little bit. While I was still at my old studio, uh one of my social media person, we did a live. And one of my collectors called me after the live was over, and she said, I want to tell you how, because I was talking about how Denzel Washington bought my work and how, galleries found me and stuff like that. And she said, well, let me tell you how I found you. And this was before the LA gallery found me. She said, I was I was scrolling one night. She said I was changing channels one night and I came across an interview of Samuel Jackson. And he was talking about, his life, his art. And he said that there's this one artist I like. Her name is Evita Tezeno. And he said, I saw her work at Denzel Washington's house. I said, really? I said, I need this video. I said, I need to find it. I stayed up all night trying to find this interview. Couldn't find it. So I called my social media manager and I said, how can I find this video? How can I find that this happened? He said, well, contact his manager. I like to do direct. So I went to his Instagram and see that if he posts himself, come to find out, I saw him posting himself in a barbershop with his phone doing a selfie. I said, this man posts himself on Instagram. So I sent him a DM. He answered me in 24 hours. I don't have your work, Evita, but yeah, I talked about your work on the interview, and I'm a big fan, and I don't own it right now, but let's make that happen. He followed me and started liking my work and posted comments on my page. 3 weeks later, he texted me and he said, I need to buy an anniversary gift for my wife. And so he said, I like this piece that you posted. It was called Date Night. And I said, well, you know what? I said, I got a better piece for you. So I sent him the largest piece in my studio, and it was called Ain't No Woman Like the One I Got. And he loved it. And he said, so how can I purchase this? I said, well, I'm going out of town. He said, you going out of town doing COVID? I said, yeah. He said, no, you're not. I said, I bought my ticket already. I said to myself in my mind, I said, Samuel Jackson is chastising me and telling me not to go somewhere. I said, I'm so excited. And so yeah, so I went to Ohio, came back. We set up the payment. He paid it. The work is now living in his home. And I think that was the beginning, because Denzel is fine. I didn't post any pictures of Denzel, but Samuel sent me a picture of him and his wife by the piece. And I put it on my Instagram, and my Instagram blew up. People were all excited. And I think that was the beginning. Yeah. And then when
Sorry. I'm like, I didn't expect this. Sorry.
Okay. So I think that was the beginning. And then this gallery in LA, Luis de Jesus Gallery, they're great people, wonderful gallery. And when they did that show for me, it totally changed my life, and it was beginning my upward trajectory. And then after Nada, when my show sold out, they told me, get ready, Evita. And I had a show a year later at their gallery in LA, which just happened, and there's only one left, and it's only been up a week. And recently, I had a show at the Dallas Art Fair, my hometown, and I got acquisitioned by the DMA. So I will be living permanently in the DMA collection. And all of this happened in basically 2 years. 2 years. It's a dream. I feel like I'm riding a rainbow. I really do. I feel like I'm on a rainbow. It's just amazing. It's like whirlwind. And it's something that I dreamed about since I was a child, and now it's happening. And I'm in the this gallery has affiliation with some of the top 200 collectors in the world, and they have placed my work with several top 200s in the world. And I cannot I don't know what else is going to happen. You know, they told me just get ready. Get ready.
If you sold out that many times at this point, you know what I mean? That's it. That's it. It's it. That's all. It's done. I told Jennifer, I was like, dang, it's over now. I can't afford it. It's done. I got that one little piece. That's it. It's to the moon now.
Yeah, I mean, since I've been with this gallery, I sold out in 2020. I sold out at my solo show. I sold out at Nada. I sold out recently at my solo show this year, and then I sold out at the Dallas Art Fair for 2 art fairs and 2 solo shows. Sold out.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's why I was like, you a celebrity, yeah. It's the beginning, but like, that's it. That's it.
It's like a dream come true. I mean, I have sat down after this last fair in my hometown. I mean, it was not different in California. It was different in California because I didn't know these people. But during the art fair, a lot of my friends came by the booth and they were hugging me and telling me how happy they were for me. And I was getting calls from my cousins in town because they heard it over the radio. It was in a newspaper. People were calling me, and so they'd say the article in the newspaper. It was just so amazing. So surreal, though, because I keep wondering if I'm going to wake up from this dream.
You ain't. You ain't. Oh man. Coming and I'm like, oh man, but it's so cool. It's just been so cool to watch. And like while you were talking, like my brain is just thinking of all the moments.
Yes.
The moments. It's thinking of even the moments of frustration, right? Like,
Yes. So much frustration. And you know, I was talking to somebody and I said, I remember in my first studio when I didn't have any money and I went to Whole Foods and they had bulk food at the time. And I would get a couple of scoops of rice, a couple of scoops of dehydrated beans, and I would go to Fiesta and I would buy a head of lettuce and tomatoes and some hot sauce, and that would be my meal for a week. And I said, I remember the struggle. It was real. I didn't have any money, but I wanted to do this art thing. I said, I'm going to make it happen. I'm not going to get a full-time job. And then what happened with the chefing is it kind of fell in my lap. And I really did need, I didn't want to do work in an office environment anymore. And I cook well. So I said, okay, well, I do that. And I started chefing, I started catering. People started flying me across the country to do chef work. I had a television show. I did a cookbook. It was a really good time for me, but I still wasn't fulfilled because even though I cook well, it's not my passion. I do it well. My passion was art. And people were telling me, you need to open up a restaurant. I did a little pop-up thing in South Dallas for a little bit. I think it's West Dallas, on Jefferson. I did a little pop-up thing, but it wasn't really what I wanted to do. I said, I want to do my art. I want to do my art. And for a while, I think for a year, I had to put my art on the back burner because I had to hustle. I had to make things happen. And I was standing in this little apartment where I had a roommate and I had nowhere to work. But I worked in this little bitty spot and I produced work and the work started selling and that's where I am now. But during those hard times, If I didn't have them, I wouldn't have been where I am now. I needed those hard times to kind of tool me into the person I am now. If I had to change it, I would not have changed it. Yeah.
What would you say to folks? And I guess this gives me two questions. People who are in that situation where it's like there's a thing that they do well and that's how they make money. But then there's the passion, there's the art, and they really, really want to do art. But they're trying to navigate, they're trying to make it. Like, what advice would you give to those artists who are trying to find their way from I do this well, so this is what I do. And yeah, they might even have people encouraging them like, hey, you do this so well, you should continue. But there's something else calling them. What would you say to those folks who are in a similar situation?
To never give up on their dream. But I always, because of my experience, I tell young artists or people that's navigating through having a job and their passion to not give up on, not quit their job until their passion equals their income of their job. Because that's what I did. When I sold to Denzel Washington and it was more than my salary for almost 6 months, I think for 3 months, I said, oh, I can make this happen. And I quit my job then, but I wasn't gonna quit my job without it. You know, I was foolish before and I just did artwork and I struggled immensely. And being older and wiser, I got a job and stuck with it until I was able to equal my income as on my job. And then I quit. I tell people to jump, but jump wisely. Yeah.
And that's what we need to hear. Really.
Yeah.
Not everybody will say that. Everybody.
Yeah.
I've heard some advice like, well, if this is your passion, you need to follow your passion. And it's like, but we still got to pay bills.
Yes. You have to pay bills. You have to eat. It's very important. And if you have children, you have to take care of your children. I didn't have any children, so I just had to take care of myself. But, you know, I'm vegetarian and I like to eat really good. So I had to have really good food, you know, and I wanted to have really nice produce. And I said, I struggled before and ate poorly because I didn't have any money. I said I was going to do that again. And I think being older and being wiser, that's what I said, okay, I'm not going to quit until my income equals my job. And I never looked back. I have not stepped in the kitchen since 2019, and it is 2022. And I know that I will not step in the kitchen again unless I want to. Yeah.
So, I guess a couple of other questions I want to ask you. Black women in the art realm, the art world. You've been in this career for a while. You've seen, I guess, a progression. Would you say that you're seeing more Black women in art now? Like, well, I guess the better way I should phrase that question is, one, what did it look like before for Black women artists? And what are you starting to see right now for Black women artists?
Before there was hardly any black women artists at all. I remember, God rest his soul, Othello Beck telling me, you know, there's not a lot of you in the art realm, and they either, you know, they either have children, they have husbands, they can't travel, they can't do their artwork. There's a lot of different things that are debilitating them. I don't want to say debilitating, but that's the word he used. And he told me, he said, stay the course, stay the course. And back then, I don't remember a whole lot of Black female artists on the road or exhibiting at different events when I was traveling with Frank. But now it is a whole different ball game. There are so many Black artists that are doing, Black female artists that are doing well. Michelina Thomas, Bisa Butler, and there's two Black artists that won the Golden Lion Award at the Venice Diamali. So a lot of things are happening in the realm of Black female artists. I think we're on the top now. We were on the bottom before, but I believe that we're on the top now.
What do you think is critical, or why is it significant and important to have more Black women artists in the field?
I believe by our nature we are the backbone of the arts because we are creative. We create life, you know. We we are the we have been the makers of our family. We made the food, we made the clothing, we stitched the blankets. We've always been makers. So we should get our due for what we did naturally. And I think it's about time.
What is the story that you're hoping to tell with your art, and what is the impact that you hope to have?
Well, this was asked to me by a reporter and said, uh, why don't you paint about the Black experience? And I said, well, I do. And they said, well, there's no pain in your work. You don't paint about the racial riots and, about uh, segregation. And I said, we're not just all about that. I said, we have families. We fall in love. I said, we love flowers. We love music. I said, I paint about that. I paint about the Black joy. I paint about the Black experience in a positive way. Not saying that those things weren't positive, but I said we're not always a distressed people. I said we're a happy people, and I said we have so much things to celebrate, and I said that's what I paint about.
I think that's why, well, there's a number of reasons why I really love your work, but I think like what's so revolutionary about it is, so when I think about somebody like Arthur Beck, right?
Mm-hmm.
He comes in, he starts to show us, one, just showing us at a time when we weren't seeing,
Yes,
but showing us
yes.
real life. And then now you have more people who are showing all of our stories. But I think like what's revolutionary about yours is you decided like, yeah, that's true, but this is also true too. Like, we're happy.
Yes, we're in love. Exactly. We dressed really nice. I mean, I grew up. My grandmother and my aunt and my aunts. And my mom. They always dressed to the nine when they would go out. Uh, why shouldn't I show that? And I love doing period. So most of my women are set like in the 40s and 50s when my grandmother and my parents used to go. Well, my grandmother used to go out because my mother was young. But I remember my grandmother showing me pictures of them dressed up to the nine and walking downtown, and when women really dressed up to go shopping, and I just loved that. And I said, they wasn't wearing sackcloth and ashes back then. So I want to show that. I want to show that we fell in love and we embraced family. And that's what my work is about. It's about Black joy and showing Black families and togetherness.
It's healing there.
It's
like,
healing, yes.
Your work, just seeing it, like when I look at it, I see all of those things that you describe. I really do. I see the happiness, I see the joy, I see the love. And for me, like, especially coming from, my background was activism and education, and that is an area that's saturated with like a lot of trauma and pain. And I mean, that's a reality. But like, to see this is so healing. And like, when I tell you like all of the things, so I love collage art. That's my favorite style. But in particular with yours, it's like it's so colorful and vibrant and like, it just it gives this kind of whimsical, happy, joyful, loving experience. It's not even just like a visual. It's a feeling.
Yes.
I love about it the most. You can feel it.
So I did this piece that was at the Dallas Art Fair this weekend. It was called Tender Love from the Forest MD song. Oh, I love that song. It was in the 80s. And this young lady came in the booth and she started weeping. I mean, she was bawling. And she said, "Oh, this," and she, before she even knew the title of it, she said, "I feel tenderness in this piece." And that is what artists want to do in their work. They want to evoke the feeling without even people knowing the title. And she said, "Oh, and the innocence." And I nailed it. I nailed it from the piece. She knew exactly what it was all about. And it, I I told her, I said, "This is exactly what I wanted to say in my work." And I said, "You felt it." And I was so excited because that's what art that's what artists want their work to do to people, evoke emotions, the feeling, happiness, joy, and take them to a different place. And that's what my work does.
It does. It does. And it's just been so cool to witness. Anyway, I'm excited. I'm excited for everybody. I'm excited for everybody.
But you know, some people, what I've learned, and I've talked to some people, that you have to be ready. And that's what someone told me. They said, it was my attorney, Sumitra. She said, you got to be ready to just walk in, because if you're not ready, you fall flat on your face. And I was ready. I was ready to go to the next level. I was prepared. I embraced it, and I met the challenge. And that's one thing that the gallery told me this week when they were here. They said, when we asked you to do the solo show, you didn't blink an eye. You said, "Okay, let's do it." And I was scared as heck. I was scared because never worked on canvas before. I had to do all of this work, and I stayed up. I just did it. And this time, I had 3 shows in 1 month. And they said, "Well, we're going to be showing you at the art fair in Chicago. We're going to do a solo show for you, and we're going to show you at the Dallas Art Fair." And then when Patriot Magazine came and asked me, they told me, they said, "Well, we're going to do a featured article about you." I said, "Oh my goodness, I have to make this great." I know I stayed up a week. I was here till 4:00 in the morning. And one time I stayed here till 1:00 the next day, PM. I said, "I am not going to let this opportunity pass by, and I'm going to do what I have to do." My friends was calling me. My mom was calling me. "You're not getting enough rest. You're not." I said, "I'm eating right." And I said, "I'm sleeping when I sleep." But I said, I'm not going to miss this opportunity. And now I don't have any more work to sell because there's all sold out. So I met the challenge. I accomplished it, and now I get a chance to have a vacation for a month.
So cool. It's so cool.
So you got to be ready for the challenge.
Yeah.
And you got to meet it, and you can't let, if you don't meet it, there might be another opportunity, but sometimes the opportunity don't come around again. So that first opportunity, you got to embrace it, and you got to take it. Like that brass ring, stick your hand out and grab it and pull it.
You're right though.
Mm-hmm.
That stay ready is so real.
Exactly. Stay ready. Because I remember some opportunities that I had with the cooking, and I'm glad that it didn't come to fruition because I didn't want to be cooking all the rest of my life. But there was some opportunities that I had that I wasn't ready for it, and I failed. It didn't happen. But now I stay ready. I said, "Okay, what's next?" I got asked by a gallery in Italy to show with a group show. I'm going to do it. Italy. Milan. In November.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I'm so excited.
Yes. Whoa.
Yeah. So everything that Sumitra and I wrote out, I've accomplished. except I don't have a museum show, but there's something in the works that I can't talk about right now, but it's coming. It's coming. It's coming.
So I guess that's another thing. Have writing it down.
Writing it down. There's a scripture in the Bible that says, write the vision and make it plain. And I believe that everybody should write their goals down because you can see it. And I feel that as you write it, you're making it happen. And everything we wrote down. I mean, I was in a magazine. I was in the cover of it's a literary journal for a university, Southern Indiana. Indiana University. I was on the cover. I was in Patreon magazine. I was on a book cover. I was included in a book with other collage artists. That all happened this year. Yeah, this all happened this year.
This year ain't even.
And I know, but all that happened this year.
So amazing. That's so amazing.
And somebody reminded me. They said, Evita, you're just in the first quarter. You're not even done yet. I said, oh, that's right. I said, this is not the end of the year. I said, that's right. All of this has happened already. We're not even in May yet.
That's amazing. But this is very inspiring. I was boo-hooing back here. What is going on with me? This is not normal. I promise you I'm professional. But it's an inspiring story.
Yes.
So cool. I'm so happy for you.
Yeah. And just where we were, like you said, we were sitting in different homes and you were sitting down with a notepad, you were writing and you were taking pictures. And I just remember that and how all of our lives have changed from that moment, from where we were then and where we're now. And I look at people that they get depressed and down because certain things happen. But I tell people to just hold on. You're going to have peaks and valleys. Because even though it has been an upward trajectory for me, I had a valley. I got sick. I had COVID. I was really sick for almost a month. I couldn't work. I also got evicted from my studio. My old studio, I got evicted. I mean, I feel that I was pushed out, but when I came back from being sick, I had a eviction notice on my door. I had 30 days to move out. And they didn't give me a reason why. But I felt that I was pushed out. And now I have a huge studio to myself. I don't have to share a building with other people. But that was a valley for me because I didn't know where I was going to go. I had to find a studio in 30 days. And I still was recovering. But I was not going to let it hinder me or stump me down. I said, I'm a big girl. I can do this. And I did it. I made it happen.
This is so cool.
Oh, yeah. You're welcome. You're welcome.
I needed this. For me.